It's Ian with Mika's Birdhouse here, and I'm just introducing Totally Organics pellets that are available here at Mika's Birdhouse in Sherwood Park. You want to get a hold of us, it's mikasbirdhouse.com, or you can reach me at the store, 780-416-4435.
Okay. Hello, Jaynne. How are you doing?
Hi, James. Yeah, it's a beautiful sunny day, a little bit less windy than last time, and our backyard has had lots of visitors. Today, so far, I've seen the enormous pileated woodpecker, which you can share some of that footage. And we've had juncos and red-breasted nuthatches, and of course our friendly squirrel that loves to eat the sunflower seed. So he's kind of cute too, but he's not supposed to do that so much.
All the stuff falling down? Huge chunks. They do go in the ground afterwards.
Is this a female or a male? Let me see here. Female pileated woodpecker enjoying some summer suet.
That's so good. That's so good. So then what time of day are these? You said it's before we visit, it's about water, but still, is there a time of day that you're sort of estimating that your visitors will come through, or is it vary?
Well, they come all through the day. They one of the videos I sent was just at the early evening at sun, just before sunset. Mm-hmm. And so some of the footage is dark, but they'll fill up at before they go off to sleep, and then they're back early in the morning. So quite regular, and then periodically throughout the day different groups will come. So just a few minutes ago there was a small flock of juncos, and they're a type of sparrow that usually will eat on the ground, but I've seen them in the feeders as well.
And how big of a range would these birds have? Like how far was it when you say they go home to sleep, whatever? Where are they?
Oh, yeah.
Far?
We're very close to a ravine here, so the woodland birds would probably just hunker down there, and the juncos could be nesting as close as neighbors' flower pots.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So.
And the juncos have a range, like they aren't here all year round. The woodpeckers and the nuthatches and chickadees are. And so, but the juncos are a type of migratory bird, but they come and go throughout our province. They cluster in different areas, but definitely they love to come up and nest in this zone and take advantage of any of the seed and food offerings here.
So good, isn't it? I didn't know that woodpeckers stay all year long.
Yeah. Now, there is one woodpecker that used to go way south, the flickers, but more and more they are wintering over as well. So normally the flickers would be eating ants so if you have ants in your backyard or an anthill nearby, the flickers would eat insects, and then so they would head south for the winter normally, but more and more we see the flickers staying over winter. They've watched the other woodpeckers and learned that seed and suet are just fine as well.
Isn't that interesting? Now, woodpeckers, What kind are they? Are they related to any other species, or are they a global kind of bird? Are
Oh,
they
yes,
every?
there's woodpeckers in lots of different countries, but what's really interesting when a lot of people see the pileated or pileated, depending how you pronounce it, they see that woodpecker and they often will comment that it looks like a dinosaur. And that is true. The birds are descended from dinosaurs, so it's not surprising that the woodpecker looks like a mini pterodactyl or something.
Is there anything distinctive about their feet or their wings or their beaks that would have them be related to other kind of bird species?
We'd have to ask the biologist in the family that one, but
Okay.
definitely they have a harder, they have a head that can take hammering, because a lot of them will do territorial calls on quite hard surfaces, and even just for all birds, they'll carve openings into trees to make cavities for their nests. So the woodpeckers are generally a cavity nester. So they have
So
to have a strong head to take all that hammering. But even you might see them on a telephone post or a metal chimney, and they'll be tapping out their calls to let other woodpeckers know that that's their territory, and let female woodpeckers know that they're in territory. So a lot of different communication done with that hammering and tapping.
and that you seem to not wince when you said they were coming by. So woodpeckers get along with the other birds? They're not a predator bird?
No, no.
Okay.
No, I don't think the woodpeckers would eat other birds.
Okay. And so they're a good bird to encourage to come through the yard. So of course a nice.
Yeah, they're just lovely to
drinking.
watch, and they can frequent the feeders, the bird baths, that kind of thing. They'll certainly pick up the insects if you get the flickers. There are sometimes they will not be welcome if they make holes in your wood siding or in stucco. They're often tapping for insects that might be hidden or nesting under there. So they're definitely looking for grubs and insects, and they might not be in a good place to be doing that. But if you give them another option, they'll usually go over there. I'm not sure if you can see it. The top of our fence there, that's woodpeckers created a whole bunch of shavings for us about 3 years ago. So we haven't bothered to put a new board on there, because they just sort of left it there after the first year.
It's so interesting that they're wild animals for sure, right? And they're working their business. And are they the same sort of nurturing style of parent woodpecker? So you're going to see their young soon, and they kind of all come
Yes.
together. Or?
Yes, that's right. And what's quite nice about the backyard is when there are babies, they are less afraid of people, because they don't have that instinct yet. So just maybe an hour ago, I was sitting here, and I think they were just very youthful young juncos. They were right under my chair. They had no fear of me, and until I moved, I didn't even know they were there. So yeah, but the parent woodpeckers, and I've seen it with chickadees and nuthatches, they'll often bring they'll show the kids the route, and they'll show them where they can find some food. So we get to see the whole family.
That's good. And you said that now Lou Carbon is the co-host of the.
Yes.
And what's he working on?
He's writing books right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to send you some video. He's sent some footage of damage that was showing signs of animals in the boreal forest. Mm-hmm. So yes, I will have those videos for you.
This fall, I noticed that none of the lodges had any caches, any food caches. And there are 5 different lodges, and not one of them had a food cache, which is a concern, because it might mean that something has happened to these beaver, maybe a disease. And this spring, I don't see any sign either, and that's why the running water like this would be something that the beaver would prevent by putting mud on there. dams that I've looked at this spring has had any activity by beaver, which is a concern because these beaver dams might break, in which case all of that beautiful lake in the background there is going to disappear without the beaver activity. You can see the beaver dam off in front of me that's really holding the water back. So without beaver, all of these areas might be in trouble. With all the snow melting, you get a lot of runoff, and the runoff collects in these ponds, these beaver ponds. And normally, if there's beaver in the area overwintering in the lodges, the first thing they would do is they would try to prevent this flow out of the pond by putting mud on top of this area here. And you can see that the water is flowing quite freely without any really fresh mud. The mud that is there is from last fall, but there's no fresh mud. So I'm concerned if we get a heavy rainfall and the water levels rise, this might actually expand and we might lose a lot of this water over this beautiful lake there. And you can see over there is actually a lodge. And this winter there was no cache, no evidence of beaver having stored food for the winter. So something must have happened to the beaver last fall sometime.
And hopefully I can get him to come on the show sometime in person.
For sure. Now you were busy on the weekend.
Yes, we were doing a Great Canadian Shoreline cleanup.
Yeah.
Together with Waste Free.
You've got your mic covered. You've pulled your laptop forward and you're covering your mic.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Wherever it is, it was just muffled. It sounded like it was in your sweater. It sounded okay, but I could barely hear it. Right. So.
Oh.
How's that?
Is that better? Maybe it was
That's
my
better.
hand. Yeah. Maybe my hand was on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were down in Dawson Park on the North Saskatchewan River, and it was rainy. We had 24 people. And we separated into teams and picked up what we could find. I think we ended up with 268 pounds of litter, not counting a shopping cart that had to be left in the river because it was too far into the mud. So I could certainly send you that data.
Yeah. So, and then what's coming up this weekend? You had something else, didn't you?
Well, tonight's I belong to a lot of groups, and there's some AGMs and meetings by Zoom. So that'll be the next
round of activities. Okay.
Yes.
And
there was a friend of mine called with an injured. I think it's a raven, the way she describes it, and she's been kind of keeping an eye on it. It's in an area, and it looks like it might have a broken wing. And with all the rain, it seems to have been able to get to some worms that were on the park sidewalks. So I've given her the phone number for for Wild North, who does wildlife rescue. So I'm waiting to hear whether they were able to help, because the birds can heal. They can actually do some medical procedures if need be, and then the birds or animals are brought out to the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, which is out of town, and that's all under the umbrella organization, which used to be called the Edmonton Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, but is now called Wild North. So they're great folks. They do a lot of things to help the injured wildlife and orphaned wildlife in this area.
Wow. What for that little guy?
I'll give you an update on that once I know.
Yeah, but what an experience for that little guy. He's got a broken wing, right? Pretty hungry.
We think
it
so.
It rains. The worms just come by.
Yeah.
How fortunate. So
Yes. So
that's really fortunate.
My friend said he looks a lot thinner than he did a few days ago, but
so hopefully
there'll
got
be some good news.
Got some food. Yeah, that's right. That's
and
good. That's
when
good
I
news.
talked to Kim at Wild North, she said it must be the year of the raven, because they've had to help four ravens this week already. So something's going on with ravens.
Whatever the change, just a little bit of change, and even what everybody's doing will affect even what happens to our.
And they could be young ones, or
neighbors,
maybe they
birds.
hit some wires. It's hard to say what what happened, but
Yeah.
if I find out some detail on that.
Let us definitely know. And what else? Anything else coming up on the weekend? Do you have any other updates? Otherwise, we'll put a wrap on the very first
No,
show.
I will try to find out about the raven,
That's right.
and I will let you know what's happening out on. We have a couple of sanctuaries that we're monitoring, and upcoming, starting from the 11th to 14th, is the BioBlitz in the Edmonton area. So
Okay.
there'll be lots of activity on that one.
And so this time next week, you'll have an update on the BioBlitz too.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Sure.
It's Ian with Mika's Birdhouse. Switch, and you're watching TVU, switch over to the pet channel and then check us out on Mika's Safe House.